Good morning. I herewith open this extraordinary meeting of the Island Council of St. Eustatius for today, Wednesday, April 30th. We'd like to welcome those of you in the hall and those of you following this meeting by way of the social media page of Statia Government. I welcome us all to please stand in respect of the Golden Rock song. Seated. Agenda point 2 regards announcements, and I will hereby announce that Council Lady Mercedes Lopes Panner is absent with notice, and Commissioner Mertman is joining the meeting online. I now look to the members of the Island Council if there are any further announcements. No announcements from the Island Council. We move into the setting of the agenda. I will read the agenda. The current agenda reads as follows. And the current agenda is the agenda that was published as regulated by the regulation of the Order of the Island Council. The agenda now reads: 1. Opening. 2. Announcements. 3. Setting of the agenda. 4. Adopting addendum notes, first budget amendment 2025. 5. Adopting response letter to the State Secretary March 24th, 2025. 6. Announcements by the Executive Council and Island Governor. And 7. I've meanwhile been informed by the Registrar's Office of a development regarding agenda point 5, and I look to the members of the Island Council if this point shall remain or be removed from the agenda. Councilman Van Putten, I see a show of hand.
Madam Speaker, in my capacity as the Majority Leader in the Island Council, we understood that, or we thought there was an agreement between the three islands, because obviously this was the case. But it seemed like one of the parties, in the meantime, had a different of opinion. So it would mean that we would have to go back to the table and further sort out this, if we will continue as a collective team of three islands, yes or no. So because of this situation, I would like that this point 5 be removed from the agenda. But in the meantime, while I'm on my feet, I would like to propose that another point come in the place of point 5, and that will be the sale of the Golden Rock houses. And I intend to present a motion to that effect when the time comes.
I look to, so that is clear, agenda point 5 is requested to be removed because of more work behind the scene with the participating partners, and in the place the request for the sale of the Golden Rock houses. including a motion and motion. Is that how I should present it, Mr. Van Putten? And motion?
Yes.
Members of the Island Council, do we have the support for this change in the agenda? Council, yes. We have full support for the agenda change and in the place to make now agenda 5, sale of Golden Rock houses and motion. So I will now read what the new agenda will look like. 1, opening. 2, announcements. 3, setting of the agenda. Adopting addendum notes, first budget amendment 2025. The sale of the Golden Rock houses and motion. Announcements of Executive Council is 6, and the Island Governor 6. 7 is closing. I hereby adopt this agenda. We move right on to agenda 4. Councilman Van Putten, point of clarification, point of order.
That is point of order. I don't think you may have reached it yet. With regards to what is something 2.5 on the sale of the Golden Rock houses, I would like to have 30 minutes in the first round and 15 minutes in the second round, just for this particular agenda point. Thank you very much.
Members, yes, you jumped the gun a bit. I take note, and I will give the remaining members of the council, in the meantime, the opportunity. When we reach that point, we will put it to a vote, because normally we have an agreement of 20 in the first round, 10 in the second round. Yes, yes. So they will get the opportunity to think about it as we go through the agenda. I return back to agenda 4, which is adopting the addendum notes of the first budget amendment. As I take note on the explanations, it regards a formality. I will now give the Commissioner the opportunity to introduce the agenda point, and Commissioner Alida, I'm told, will introduce the agenda point so that the Council can prepare to formalize this addendum to the first budget amendment. I give you the floor, Commissioner Alida.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Good morning, honorable members. Hello. Yeah. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Good morning, honorable members of the Island Council. To those who are following by the social media and those who are also here with us, and support staff, and to Commissioner Merkman, who is online, and he will be there to give me assistance if needed. Today we have before us an addendum of additional footnotes that Commissioner Merkman, during the Island Council meeting of April the 10th, informed the Island Council of in terms of the requirements of CFT. CFT basically explained that since the island of St. Eustatius has more than one interest-free loans, they would like to see it more worked out within the budget amendment. So today we have before us the worked out information of all free interest loans throughout the multi-year budget. The coverage of the cost of the enormous loan to cover the repayment of the interest-free loan must be structurally processed in the multi-year budget, and that is what we have here before us today. Accordingly, attached you will find that the information that you receive, additional information required by the CFT. On April 25th, the Finance Department team had a meeting with CFT and advised that it will be very prudent to have the Island Council also approve the additional footnote. So this could not have been done outside of the Island Council. So that's why we're here today in an extraordinary Island Council meeting asking the Island Council to approve these footnotes. These footnotes do not have any financial consequences on the budget. It just brings more clarification on how the free interest loan is structurally verwerkt throughout the multi-annual budget, so from 2024 to 2028. So this is more of a formality, and going forward, this will be added to all budget and budget amendments going forward, as this is now a new requirement of the CFT. Thank you, Madam Chair, and if there's any questions, I will await the questions that we can bring some clarification
Commissioner Ledam has mentioned it's a formality to work out the details of the different loans, interest-free loans, and the repayment schedule spread over the multi-years budget. At this time, the speaking order of the Island Council is as follows. First speaker, Councilman Derek Simmons. Second speaker, Council Lady Raquel Spanner-Carty. Third speaker, Councilman Glenville Schmidt. Fourth and final speaker, Councilman Clyde Van Putten. Councilman Derek Simmons, you may address the floor.
Thank you, and good morning to everyone. I yield my time.
Thank you, Councilman Simmons. Council Lady Raquel Spanner-Carty.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Madam Chair. Seeing that this is just a formality, we already passed the budget, and these are footnotes that just a requirement in addition to it. I also have no further comments.
Thank you, Council Lady Raquel Spanner-Carty. Councilman Glenville Schmidt, you may address the meeting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning to everyone listening, members here in the Council and in the public gallery of the Commissioner. I, to Madam Chair, will yield my time on this agenda point. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Glenville Schmidt. Councilman Clyde Van Putten, I now allow you to speak.
Madam Speaker, members of the Council, those in the public gallery, members of the Executive Council present, and certainly those who are listening via the platform. Madam Speaker, when I listened to the colleagues this morning, yielding the time, that's a word I brought here over 20 years ago, yielding time. The former commissioner said it same, but he don't know parliamentary procedure so well. So I brought the word yielding time, and it has become a norm. But I'm not going to yield my time. I want to start up by saying that, as was mentioned before, that indeed that the budget amendment was approved by the Island Council. And even with the requirement of the CFT, which I personally believe wasn't really needed. But I will not stand in the way in giving the government the green light in order for them to get the final approval from what is now known our minister. That is the norm being thrown around these days, our minister. But Madam Speaker, while I give my support to these additional information that was put forward, again, I want to warn governments about these free interest loans. I reluctantly, on the request of the local commissioner of finance, who's also responsible for public housing, went ahead with a proposal, a last-minute proposal that came from the ministry. Because what I have seen is now developing is that when certain support is needed from the Netherlands, the way that they before, and they tell the government that they don't have no other time. It's basically take it or leave it. I am not going to be part of that. I answer solely to the people of Station. I said it before, I don't answer to no Dutch minister. I don't answer to the Dutch parliament. I don't get votes in Holland. I collect my votes over these past 40 years in this country. And so I'm responsible for every action, every decision I take from the people of Station. I have asked government on numerous occasions as to how many outstanding loans, the so-called free interest loan, are the low interest rate loans that we have from the Dutch. And I'm going to repeat that question again today because right now the government has a certified public accountant as consultants working for them. So I believe that they are in a position now, if there wasn't before, to be able to answer the question, how much we have in terms of loans, how many loans we have, and to what amounts, the total amount. What are we paying on an annual basis, and over what period of years that these loans will come to end. And Madam Speaker, the reason why I asked the question, I may not be around, but my grandchildren will be around. My children will be around by the grace of God, and by extension, the people of this, the children of this island, because I see myself as one of their civil fathers. And so I am wary whether it is PLP-led government or whichever government continue to borrow. Because I ain't going into the whole discussion with the Orange Bay project, because my position was very clear from the beginning that the Dutch was the one that had to take responsibility for that particular situation. It resulted, Station give, but I think we had to come up with most of the money, and they gave part of the money. Then there are a number of other things. And I know the pending court cases coming, we are based on decision that was taken from some of your predecessors, with some case with with Stockholm. That is a case, and I'm almost sure that again, the local government of Station would be asked to take the financial responsibility for it. And again, Holland may tell you that we have to come with a free interest loan. When the one that they appointed, when they removed my government from office, made a commitment that the government would stand responsibility for certain things. It was not in black and white, but today, the government of Station is told that they have to pay it. Again, there are exceptions that I will make. I make the exception for the social housing, and if the commissioner and the government had listened, we would not find ourselves in the situation where we had to go along and agree to borrow a free interest rate loan, because I had information and I share that information. But it is clear for me that council members seemingly, and maybe depends on which council members it is, don't have weight. Because if you have a certain experience, you have a certain information, and you share it, the government should look into that information, check it out in civil aid, the councilman come with such and such information, let us see the validity of it, and let us deal with it. But they procrastinated, and in the end, we were told that the Dutch, the Basel is no longer interested, so the Dutch is willing to give you so much money that they promised before, but you have to go and borrow it. So another interest rate loan was added to the many, I assume, that we have already. Government, Madam Speaker, because of the tight step jacket that we find ourselves in, is almost unable to do any small financing of investment projects here on the island. And so everything we have to depend on them. And while we see that the Dutch continue to share their pocketbook, spread their pocketbook across the region and the globe, everything that they will help us with, they give us the bare minimum, and at the end of the day, we have to go and borrow a loan from them and pay them back. We are part of the Dutch constitutional state, it is said. And I feel that if I'm a part of your family and you sharing of your will, I would hope that you will have been the will. But what I have seen, Madam Speaker, is that because of the very tight financial constraints that the government in this island is faced with, we always have to go and borrow loans, these low interest rate, the free interest rate loans. And I have a problem with that. I have a serious problem with that. And I'm warning the government I am not going to support anymore. Like I said, I reluctantly supported the one for social housing because I want to see more housing in this country, but I'm not going to support anymore. I will not. If the government have a supermajority in this Island Council, which it seems to have, then they will have the votes. But I will not vote for any more loans on the back of the people of this country, and certainly the generation to come. Madam Speaker, may it please you, I yield my time.
Thank you, Councilman Clyde Van Putten. Commissioner Alida, I give you the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Based on the document, there's 2 current loans that we have. One will be starting 2025 this year, and the one from the Huisvestiging has already started from years before. If you can bear with me, Madam Chair, the unit manager went to find out from what year the Huisvestiging started, yeah, because in the document on page 2, it describes that it will end in 2033. That's the $200,000 yearly for the Huisvestiging that will end in 2033. And then the one that we have currently that we just took, it will be for 20 years at $105,000 yearly, and that will end in 2044. As Councilman Van Putten so rightly said, there is others looming, but currently what is agreed upon, what we have, is only 2. I also share, the sentiments where, of course, we take in free interest loans, but in this manner, we expect that at least the 105 and also the one to come for the houses will be neutral. So we expect to create the income back that can generate to pay back for these loans. So we're hoping that we will be financially documented that we have maybe 3 free interest loan, but the consequence on the budget will only be the one for the Huisvestiging. So that is when the unit manager returns, I will give you the year that the Huisvestiging loan started for $200,000.
He's back right now. I'll give him the opportunity
Thank you.
to share that information. And Mr. Van Putten, immediately after I saw that you have a show of hand.
Thank you very much. I think you sprinted. So this is the document, the jaarrekening of 2023, and it has it that OCW, we have in 2013, we got a renteloos lening for $4 million for 20 years. So that is the $200,000 that we're paying yearly.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. You wanted to ask a question, Councilman Van Putten. I give you the floor.
Madam Speaker, I would like to have posting documented the amount what you're paying on an annual basis and support this, so that is fine. But I said to the Commissioner, she made mention of 2, and she agreed that they are stuff that is low. I spoke about the issue with Stuco, but there's also the issue with the secondary school, and they're going to be more. So I am sure, as of today's Wednesday, there will be more. And the local government does not have the financial means in order to deal with this. And I know when you approach a basic gap, like we always talk about, they will present you, listen, I can help you, but you will have to take a loan in order to do it. And those are the concerns that I have. And so I want to make it clear, because as I said, what is before us, I will give it my support. I wouldn't put any stumbling block in this regard for government to get approval from their minister. But at the same point in time, I am warning that I will not be supporting any future free interest or low interest rate loan because of the concern that I have for the generation to come. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Councilman Van Putten. I see that Commissioner Alida, you would like to elaborate some more?
Yes, please.
I give you the
Thank you, Madam
floor.
Chair. As Councilman Van Putten so rightly said, going forward as per CFT, this will now be in the budget more explained. So there we will not have to be searching in different areas. So going forward, and budget amendments or budgets, it will have
Transparency.
all the free interest loans, the extra ones that are looming, whether approved or not, but it will be more explained, just like this structurally, how it's been gedacht. covered throughout the multi-year and how many years it is and stuff like that. So we do agree and for more transparency. So we should have this settled going forward. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Leerdam. I look to the members of the Island Council if there is a need for a second round or we should go over to, adopting this amendment. So I look to you, council members. Is there a need for a second round? No? Thank you very much. So that we end the discussion on this topic, we will now go over to the vote. I will first have the registrar read the amendment aloud. So, registrar, I will now give you the mic so you can read aloud the amendment.
Amendment?
The decision, yes.
All right, good morning. The Raadbesluit reads as followed. Date of the meeting, the 30th of April 2025. De onderwerp goedkeuring, toelichting, eerste begrotingswijziging 2025. De Eilandraad van Sint-Eustatius van het Openbaar Lichaam Sint-Eustatius gelezen het voorstel van de bestuurscollege gedateerd 29 april 2025 en het advies van het College Financieel Toezicht gedateerd 28 februari 2025 met referentie CFT 2025-00021, gelet op de artikel 15 tot en met 21 en artikel 23 tot en met 27 van de VINBES besluit 1. Goedkeuring te verlenen aan de toelichting behorende bij de goedkeurende eerste begrotingswijziging 003/2025 voor het jaar 2025 conform deze besluit en bijlagen.
Thank you, Madam Registrar. We will now go over to the voting on the amendment. And this is in accordance to voting for the proposal, and that is in accordance to Article 29.1 of the Regulation of Order of the Island Council. Councilman Derek Simon, you may now express your vote.
For.
Thank you, sir. Council Lady Raquel Spanner-Carty.
For.
Thank you, Council Lady. Councilman Glenville Schmidt.
For.
Finally, Councilman Clyde Van Putten. Thank you. And herewith, the Raadsbesluit is ratified. With your permission, members of the Island Council, it would be a great injustice if I let this one slide. There has been a slight error in our meeting and the setting of the agenda, and I think the appropriate time will be to set it now, and that regards a document that the Council intends to ratify today. I believe it's called the MOU SSS Cooperative. Is that correct? With your permission, I would like to add it to the agenda, considering the Council travels soon and there are no meetings scheduled in June coming, or May, this month, so that you do not miss the opportunity to have this document ratified. Do I have your support that we add this in as agenda point 6, which is the MOU, ratifying the MOU SSS, which means Sabre Station St. Martin Cooperative. Members of the Island Council? So hereby ratified that agenda point 6 is now MOU SSS Cooperative. 7 becomes the announcements and 8 is the closing. We hereby adopt the new agenda with this all-important point added. We will now move to agenda point 5, which is an agenda point added by Councilman Clyde Van Putten. This agenda point is about social housing and corresponding motion. Councilman Van Putten, I will give you the floor.
Speaker, before we go into the deliberation on this agenda point, I would like to ask for a 10 minutes adjournment so there could be a brief caucus with the PLP faction, and we will invite the commissioner and leader of the government, Ms. Leadam, to join us so that we could discuss a few things and then get back.
It is now 11:11, so you will report back here at 11:21. So the meeting is hereby adjourned until 11:21. I herewith resume this extraordinary meeting of the Island Council of St. Eustatius, and I would like to apologize to our listening audience. As you can take note that the requested break extended way beyond the 10 minutes, and I will make a note that we can discuss together with the faction leaders in Presidium that we may need on complex matters like this a much longer period for these types of breaks so that we are in compliance with our meetings and our regulation of order, at least when we announce 10 minutes, 20 or 30, that we can stick to that because there are persons who are awaiting our deliberation. On this note, I want to continue with agenda point 5, and the topic on agenda 5 is sale, Golden Rock houses, and motion. Before the break, Councilman Van Putten, you were about to speak. I will now return the mic to you, Councilman Van Putten.
Madam Speaker, indeed we must apologize to the listening public for the extended request that we asked. But I believe that the public has become accustomed, it's not the first time, that when you have these type of meetings dealing with their business, there are times that it is required that you meet. I would like to find out if this is the motivation that you want me to go into.
I want you, as usual, you will go into the motivation as you are the person who presented this topic.
Well, okay, Madam Speaker, I guess maybe to some of the colleagues and some people, the question may be, why this agenda point? And this agenda point is here today because we had internal meetings within the PLP faction. I wouldn't say the party, but into the faction. And a lot of different prizes after a period of insistence was placed on the table. Subsequently, we had a meeting here in the Island Council, and there was reached agreement. But prior to even the meeting in the Island Council, there was a meeting at the Stuco building where a group, I think there was even some people from Holland and some local people, I don't know if that's the steering committee, what is working with the commissioner, maybe advising on the matter. But they met, they gave information, and there was a document circulating, and it was said that that document contained the different prices for the houses. I requested that document. I was told in the meeting that I had to go at the office of the General Secretary of the Island Council because it was Tadin Zaka, and they would say in Dutch, I didn't agree because I believe there should be no secret from the Island Council. I said before, and I want to stay there again, it's God and then the Island Council. And so if there's a document by government and you cannot trust the integrity of members of the Island Council to be able to be recipient of such a document, that's a problem. Subsequently, we came to the Island Council. There was debate, it was discussion. And I remember during that meeting on various occasions, I asked the commissioner who was responsible for housing specific question as it pertains to the sale of the housing, who would pay for the transfer of the deed, who would pay the taxation that need to come as a result of the sale of the houses. And maybe I might be at the mall, but if you go back, maybe thank God to social media, if you go back, Madam Speaker, and you check the proceeding of that meeting, I consistently question the commissioner regarding the prices and the different conditions, including the role of their minister, because that seemingly is the main order of the day. And the answer was given that the people, when it ended up, well, taken into consideration, I talk about the dowry fee, I talk about the other things, but also very importantly, the house will be rewired. And in the party meeting, in the faction meeting, there was a figure mentioned and all of that will be deducted. And I said I could live with that. It was 60,000, but with all of these things deducted, the paying of the fees, I think it was something he mentioned about 4,000 for the rewiring of the houses, because with years there was a need for it. Then I said, okay, I will live with that. But I live here, and I don't play politics. I am a servant leader in this country. I don't lie to people. I tell you the truth whether you like to hear it or not. And because we debated here, and the Island Council was assured of what it would be, some way there was a misconnection. I don't want to accuse the government of lying and misleading the people. So for now I will use the word a disconnect or a miscommunication, because a number of persons approach me, some who like and who don't like, but people know that I was one of the voices, not the only one, but one of the voices who have been ever standing up and fighting that these houses should remain in the hands of the local people. And when people had the opportunity, and even that went wrong, because in the meeting, I insisted that there must be an orderly information process so that no confusion will be created like it was, I think, in the time when Mr. Fortin was there as director, and later, I think something similar happened. And the commissioner assured the meeting there would have been a general meeting where the people at the Housing Authority would have given information, and then the people would have the opportunity to be able to come back based on appointment and ask additional questions if needed, and then indicate as to whether they would purchase the homes or not. Apparently this was not done. And I'm not blaming the people at the Housing Authority, because if the information wasn't given to them, then they cannot give it. But a number of persons, and I mentioned the amount of people in the commission, I mentioned a number, as to people who reach out to me. And some were told they have to pay 50-something, 60-something. It even went to 71,000 plus that people would have to pay for the homes. And for me, Madam Speaker, this is unacceptable. The land on which the houses was built belongs to the government and people of this country. Over the years, government never made no investment in these houses. The commissioner stood here on the floor of the Island Council. But okay, but this is the introduction. So
I want to make sure there's an introduction, because we have to still establish.
Yes.
So thank you very much, Councilman Van Putten. That was the introduction to the topic. At the start of your agenda point, you requested a 15-minute second round, first round 30 minutes. Members of the Island Council, is there support for this shift from the normal 20 and 10 minutes to 30 and 15 minutes? I have the support of the Island Council. So on this agenda point, we will go from 30 minutes first round, second round, 10 minutes. Mr. Van Putten, you may now speak and present the topic and the motion.
So, Madam Speaker, to continue where I left off, as I said before, the houses belongs, or the land belongs to the people. The houses was presented 50 plus years ago by the national government in Holland during the time of the Netherlands Antilles to the people of Statia. And like it was said, successive governments over the years made an attempt to sell these houses. But every time they were met with bottlenecks. And here in Statia, the minute the blue-eyed people tell us something, we run with it. We have become so legalistic in this country that people don't even realize that there are laws, but there are loopholes in the law. I was in Holland not so long ago, about 2 years, and you were there too, Madam Speaker. And I remember in one of those islands outside of the mainland, Holland, they were making mention of certain things that they does. And one of the people from Statia asked, But how are you doing this? Is it permitted by the federal government in Holland? And their response was, it's against the law, but if it's in the interests of the municipality, we are going to carry it out. But in Station, we are more obedient to these blue-eyed people in Holland than we are obedient to God in many cases. And so I have an issue where at this point in time that the land belongs to me, the house was given to us as a gift 50 odd years ago, and now they are telling me that their minister have to give permission to sell houses on land that belongs to the people. Okay, they removed the government, and they said Clive Patton, who led the government, was violating the law. So they removed the government. So we are now finding ourselves in a stiff jacket, even when it is against the interests of the people of this country. We want to fall in line because this is what Mother Holland say, and we are afraid to do it. From the different discourse, both internally in the party caucus, as well as in meetings of the council, it was agreed that different taxation will be brought. When the two gentlemen that is sitting next to me was in the executive council, specific instructions was given to them by the PLP faction as to what we should do in terms of having people with the ability to do the taxation on the promise. We specifically asked that certain people were not asked to get involved, but eventually we saw those same people did, and we saw what the result of that was. Even at the point in time that the commissioner himself admitted that the last two taxation that they received, he got the impression that there was some form of relationship because the figures were almost identical. The commissioner stood on the floor of the Island Council, down in the Parliament building, where he acknowledged, confessed, and he told the council, and by extension the country in the world, that he was not ready to commit to sell the houses for a particular price. Because he said after walking around with the then deputy to you, I think it's Nicolene from the Linda, they had a walkthrough in Golden Rock. And when he saw the condition of the homes, he was appalled. He was overwhelmed. And therefore he didn't feel he could recommend to the rest of the cabinet, the rest of the executive council, a particular price to sell the houses. Nothing have changed. But lo and behold, Madam Speaker, after all that was said and done, even persons locally, one of them is now deceased, who would have sent a letter to one of the then commissioners, giving his candid opinion as to why they can't be talking about market value. It must be noted that when these houses was built some 50 plus years ago, some almost 50 years ago, Madam Speaker, the first set of houses cost 25,000 guilders. And I estimate that up to the third set, it may be 35 or 40,000 guilders. And today, the PLP government, led government, a party for the poor people, a Labour Party, Madam Speaker, is willing to give in to their minister in asking people to pay even up to $71,000 plus in order to be able to own a home. Madam Speaker, this is not what we campaign on. There were a few things that I could remember vividly. Getting back a democracy, improving health care, selling the houses in Golden Rock at a reasonable price so that the people, we the poor people, Madam Speaker, will be able to eventually own a home. But if you asking people to pay 60 or more, how are they going to own the home? Where are they going to get the money from? I'm hearing that people already approach the bank. But the Dutch government shut down the banks.
Mr. Van Putten, speak to the chair, please.
But I'm speaking to the chair, but I'm moving, Madam Speaker. I am not an invalid. I got to move around.
You know what I mean, sir.
Madam Speaker, where is the compassion? Where is the empathy? Where is that vision that PLP was found on in wanting to take care, Madam Speaker, of the wretched, the poor people in this country? Because if we are following what their minister, and you took note, I didn't say our minister, their minister, Madam Speaker, if you took note of the fact that they are willing to carry out what their minister is saying, then not only the houses, more people will die in this country. Because the minister is saying a lot of things. The minister them coming here for a well-planned program. Don't talk to the local people in the community. Don't know what the sentiments are. But we are willing, Madam Speaker, to carry out everything what their minister say. But if the minister or the government, the Schrove government in this regard, or even those before, had empathy and concern, they would have built more houses. And you know, to add to this, I was speaking with the Central Committee Chairman, who is well-grounded, because I think he's been there 3 times already as a commissioner. And in most cases, he had the pocketbook holding for the government and also the housing. And he reminded us that in Holland, after a certain amount of years, the building or the houses or whatever with age, and you could correct me around, I think he said they take off 25% or 2,500, whatever it is. But I will go a step further. That when you have buildings that reach 30, 40, 50 years, it's about gesloopt, still could use a Dutch word, Mr. Accountant, they are demolished. I visited a district in Holland about 2 years ago, where my niece, one of my nieces is living. And I remember walking there in that area with her daughter, you know, the blue-eyed people, and we get blue-eyed too. We want to be walking with the cats and the dogs certain hours of the day. And I said to her, but I said, this area look different. And she said to me, yes, when you was here before, they had apartment buildings, but they blow it down, they took it down, and they now they build back on state of the art looking apartments. Now, they said in 10 years, they would have built 50 houses. 10 years, you know. So 5 houses a year. For a rich country like Holland, they're giving St. Kitts, Nevis, Dominica, Antigua, even Jamaica, Madam Speaker, in other parts of the Caribbean, they're giving any amount of money. But they're giving Station 50 houses in 10 years, 1 in 5 years. And look at the trick about it. They were prepared to give $2.5 million to be able to build these houses. And the Dutch Housing Corporation, Basel, which was Vonenly, would have to go on the financial market to borrow money so that they will be able to put in the other part to build these houses. And eventually we had to make a concession that we would give them the ownership in long lease for a certain amount of years so that they would be able to get back their money. Madam Speaker, the public should also be reminded, and the Island Council, that during the time of the takeover, where the Dutch government, Madam Speaker, I didn't get a copy of the motion, please, where, Madam Speaker, they wanted to give over these houses by the stroke of a pen. By the stroke of a pen. The majority of these members was not in the Island Council. I was there. I don't remember if they were not commissioners, because we didn't have commissioners locally then. And I was one of them, stood strong and tall. And I said that will not happen, because the land and the houses belongs to the people. But if we had kept quiet, there would be no local heading the Housing Foundation along with his staff, because they were bringing in their own people. And every year there would have been a position, Madam Speaker, to increase the house rent, like what they're doing in a particular island, where some people find it even difficult to pay the rent on a monthly basis. And so, Madam Speaker, I stood strong, and I'm not going to only take the credit for myself, because I had Island Council members who also agreed. And eventually, we saw there was little interest on the part of Basal to go and borrow a loan and to build these houses. And I came here, but not in this building, but in the Parliament building downtown, and I said to the commissioner, sit with the housing authority, find ways and means where you could get money and build your own houses. Don't depend on the Dutch government, don't depend on Basel, because these people, the Dutch people, they talk a lot. They're the talk. There was enough, they're the talk. And Basel, they then gave already indication that they were not going to invest in any houses here in Station. And I think it was less than 2 weeks, the commissioner came back with the news that indeed Basel pulled out. The city can't make the investment because they won't make no money, and blah, blah, blah. And the Dutch was willing to give the $2.5 million, and then we will have to take the low interest rate loan if we wanted to build houses. I was reluctant, but I am one who have been fighting, Madam Speaker, for young people in this country, single mothers who need a house. They are not in a position to be able to build one, but they need a position, they need a house. So I went along with it to agree for us to get a loan. I got a love letter this morning from the commissioner based on a meeting that we had last night and our faction caucus. And he was actually questioning and challenging my wisdom to come with a motion. And then he said that the minister, well, the leader of government said, she put it in the chat. Well, I guess I get old and I don't see so well all the time, so I didn't see it in the chat. But if I didn't put that this morning, I didn't know the minister, Mona Kaiser, who's responsible for housing among others, is coming the 15th and the 16th of May, and they will be signing contract. And I'm a member of the Island Council. I'm the majority leader. I'm the ruling faction in the Island Council. I was not aware. All honesty, I was not aware. But again, I'm saying that if we had gone along then, there wouldn't be no discussion. But I want to add still, Madam Speaker, to the amount of money, what we are asking the poor people, we the poor people, to pay to be able to own these homes. When they went in the hard discussion with the authority at the Housing Foundation, nothing wasn't mentioned about the transfer of the deed of a life. I got it on my tape, right here on my phone. Several people told me that was not mentioned. Nothing was mentioned about the fees that will be paid for the notary, or the $4,000 that will be paid to rewire the houses. And I can't blame the young man or his team if they didn't mention it, because if the government didn't pass on that information to them, then obviously they couldn't give, because maybe if they had told the people, listen, don't worry, you will have to, the government will pay for the transfer, they will rewire the homes, so you don't have to worry about it. Because maybe it would have been a form of comfort to the people. But the people were told in the raw way, when I say raw way, not in a rude way, but in a very direct way, that this is the amount, then they have to pay. And I know they have people who said it was, if it was under the 50 million, even those difficult, some of them don't have no children. 1,000, yes, I'm sorry. If it was under the 50,000, they would make some effort collectively to try to buy it. But when you talk about these outrageous prices, Madam Speaker, then they cannot do it. And what really stirred my wrath is that we were willing to go along and sign for Basel, the Dutch Housing Corporation, to get these houses for nothing. And it would have been owned by them. But now for our people, the poor poor people, the marginalized people in this country, we are not willing to stand up to their minister and to say to their minister, no minister, Madam Minister, our people can't afford this. But we were willing to give it over to Basel. Although the land belongs to the people, and if my wife gets a gift, I can't force her to give it to somebody else because it's a gift. A gift was given to us, the people, over 50 years ago by the Dutch government. And now we want to be able to have these people own a home. And Madam Speaker, all kind of difficulties, all kind of red tape. And he have the right to defend himself. The commissioners, it's one thing with me. When I come to these meetings, I don't forget. I'm very attentive on them. I've been here a long time. And so I cause in here, less than, in fact, last night in the caucus, he said that the people would pay less than 50,000. Well, I want to see it on paper. I want to see it on paper. We were told at a certain point that the minister, the then state secretary, when there was objection based on the fact that we didn't agree, and he went and he visited with Nicolene van der Linde, he would talk with State Secretary Van Huffelen. Well, Van Huffelen was characterized as the best ever minister that came to these islands, and I disagree, but that is for the account. And she said that she had understanding, and they would look at it different. Now, later I'm hearing that Van Huffelen agreed for another taxation, but the commissioner said in here, he was suspicious of the taxation because the figures looked so much like each other. So they had some form of correlation. And we're still fighting, Madam Speaker. Look, I said before that I support this government. But I also said publicly, I can't love party more than love the people. The people in this country over these 40 years, Madam Speaker, have been very good to me. Some of them lick me too. Some of them have been very ungrateful. But it's okay, that's a part of politics. But as long as I am here, whether you like or you don't like, whether you vote or you didn't vote for me, or the party that I'm affiliated with, I'm going to stand for the people. Right is right and wrong is wrong. The unit director, manager, who was sitting here earlier, he was the finance minister in St. Martin. He sold the houses in St. Martin for next to nothing. There was external pressure. And then I will hear later, yeah, but we are part of the Dutch constitutional state. If I'm a part of the Dutch constitutional state for the good, for the bad, I should also be a part of it for the good. Because with people dying here in this country, the roads are bad. The schools are left in shambles at this point in time. And there are many other social, infrastructural, cultural, economic development. The rate, Madam Speaker, inflation is high. You could scarcely go in the shop and buy it. And our minister, unser minister, they come in, they go in down in the supermarket, they go buy the Chinese, they fool the people, they buy a few items, and then they go on the plane. And they say they understand. But we who live here, when I go to the supermarkets, and I'm always happy to do it, I'm always asked to assist. And I do it with those two. I go to the Stupa building or wherever, and you assist your people. Because that, I feel, is a part of the calling, of the responsibility, Madam Speaker. Now, I have a house, and thank God I built my house before I went into government, that people wouldn't say that I built my house of the government money. But there are many people, Madam Speaker, that can't build a house. Some of us build mansions, edifices, apartments, suites, and all kinds of things. But there's a lot of people, Madam Speaker, in this country ain't able to do it. And definitely 90+% of the inhabitants in Pole and Rock is not in a position to do it. I said to the leader of government, and my successor as leader of the PLP, I want to support the government at all times. But on this one, Madam Speaker, I am willing to take the high road with all the political consequences that would come with it. Because I will not support the ongoing process for the government to sell those houses, those low-income houses, that is in a deplorable condition. Deplorable condition, because even if you buy them for 50, 60, 70,000, the commissioner just stated that it will cost them about 55,000 to fix a house. But if it costs him, according to the statistic, Madam Speaker, that she got from the Housing Authority, well, how be the poor people? If you ask us to pay 60, let's say 60,000, where are we going to get 55,000? We the poor people to repair the houses. Again, I'm saying, I am not running any more politics. I said it in the meeting before, and I have been telling my supporters, I have reached the end of my rope. I finished with active politics. The people have been extraordinary good to me, and I know they have a lot of them want to see me go. But as Mugabe said, Madam Speaker, long after I'm gone, whether through deaths, I decide to start Camp David, isolate myself, or I go to my new vocation in government, I'm inviting you to join me on my farm one of these days to see what I have over there. Whether I go there, Madam Speaker, whichever one of them I choose, I am not running for anything anymore. But this PLP party, a party for the fishermen, a party for the janitors, a party for the farmers, and we could go on and on. The poor people, how would they face the public in the next year and a half? How will they face it? When these type of injustices, Madam Speaker, is taking place, and you have a commissioner that is arrogant, Madam Speaker, because this is what you think. Their minister say this, because their minister say, to hell with what the members of the Island Council say. I am not a rubber stamp. I got votes in the election too, and I don't like to talk about it, but it's a fact. And the voters is out there telling people, Clyde, you don't have no relevance no more in your government. I want to make it clear, Madam Speaker, that a political program was presented by the PLP in the election. That program was adopted as the program that will guide this government. And if we look at that program, Madam Speaker, they didn't tell them sell the houses for the kind of money that the commissioner presented to the cabinet, and then hiding behind the law. Because all of a sudden the commissioner has become a certified public accountant. But okay, he's an economist. He says so it's close. But all of a sudden, and you don't have that resilience, that type of firm determination to stand up and to sit with Mona Kaiser or whoever's the minister before her. Listen, yes, the law is there, market value, but based on what he said in here, after visiting with Nicolene van der Linde, Minister, in all fairness, I can't do my people this. But you tell me that our minister, or their minister, said this and said that. And Madam Speaker, I have a problem with this. There comes a moment in life, even in your career, that even though the heavens fall, that you have to stand for principle. Speaker, I give into a lot of things PLP did in government that I didn't agree with it. But as the senior member, as one of the founding members of the party, you didn't want to put your government in an awkward situation, so I compromised. But I reached to the point, Madam Speaker, that I realized that when there are certain principal issues that I may have some people get upset. But when other people say, then they take what they say into consideration. Is it that because they feel that if I make a certain move a certain way, that people would say, oh, Clyde can't work with nobody? And I don't have a problem with that. I ain't running for nothing else. So whether I walk, I could walk, and if I couldn't walk with nobody, I wouldn't have survived because they tried to kill me and write my political arbitrary so many times, and all of them who tried it, they are all gone. But I am still here. And Madam Speaker, I will walk out, if the Lord spare my life, with my bat in my hand, because I serve this country and I serve it well, locally as well as nationally. But I say there comes a moment, Madam Speaker, when one needs to stand and stand firm based on principle. And Madam Speaker, we met in the party caucus, or the faction caucus, a few minutes ago. There was a motion put forward. The motion was put together by me. My colleagues still want some more time, that we could go back and see if we could find a compromise and come with something that will be more acceptable, and I'm prepared to do that. But I will not compromise. I will not compromise and go along with the prices that is on that price list. I'm not going to do that. Because if I do that, I can't live with my conscience. I can't go in Golden Rock, whether I'm walking or driving, or even when I see the people at funerals in supermarkets, the tokos are by the hospital, I can't look at them in the face. Because, Madam Speaker, I would have betrayed them. And I know a lot of those people.
Mr. Van Putten, based on our agreement to speak for 30 minutes,
Yes.
there's sufficient time for you now to read the motion.
And Madam Speaker, I will do that. But what I'm saying to you, I cannot support it the way it is. So the motion, Madam Speaker, reads, the Island Council of the Public Entity of St. Eustatius, in its meeting on Wednesday, April 30, 2025, concerning the vision of the PLP-led government to assist people within the low-income bracket to have the opportunity to own their own homes, that the houses in Golden Rock falls into the low-income bracket, that over 90% of the tenants living in these houses from the very inception is living in these houses from the very inception of their construction, that the government, which owns these houses for 100%, over the years has not made any meaningful investment in terms of the maintenance, etc. That the Executive Council, in the latter part of 2024, by means of the Commission of Housing, during a public meeting of the Island Council, stated their reluctancy to sell these homes because of the deplorable physical and overall condition of the homes. That it is a policy in the European part of the Netherlands for building with so many years that they be demolished and replaced with new construction. That during a public meeting of the Island Council of February 2025, it was unanimously agreed to sell 25 of these low-income houses. And it resolves to put the sale of Golden Rock houses on hold for a period of maximum period of 45 days. So the ongoing discussion with anybody in terms of selling the homes, it will be paused for 45 days. And the Executive Council will instruct the Housing and Foundation, inform them as to the decision. Madam Speaker, like I said, my motion was more direct, but I'm in a caucus. And I don't want it to be said later the Clyde was difficult. So I went along for 45 days. And I hope within the 45 days, we could each add water to the wine and reach an agreement, an acceptable agreement that will help the people of Golden Rock. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Van Putten. We will now go over and I will give the floor to Councilman Derek Simmons.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. I yield my time.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Councilman.
Derek Simmons.
Council Lady Raquel Spanner-Carty, I want to say here that the Council Lady did notify me of a previous engagement booked quite a while ago, and that today is an extraordinary meeting, so that she will be here at least maximum until a few minutes before 1:30, so that she can comply with the previous engagement. I give you the floor, Council Lady Spanner-Carty.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to start by saying I was rather surprised by the motion. I thought we were past this station. It was a lengthy process getting here. It's way before my time. And I remember us agreeing in the last Island Council meeting, when this was a topic on the agenda, that we would sell for, like the councilman stated, the appraised value, which indeed was not shared with us hard copy, but we were privy to the amounts, which I didn't look at. The amounts didn't matter to me. It was just about the fact that we were finally being able to sell them. I know at that time we got various expert information, some background on what the money that will be generated from the sale will go towards. So I really thought we were past this. And I think it is fair to say when you run for office, it's because you care about your people. And I have said it before, the people of Golden Rock, yes, they matter. Every citizen on station matters. But the money generated also meant something for the rest of our people that are not yet in homes. And I think we oftentimes forget those people, because the intent behind the sale seems to stop at the sale. What about the money that would be generated from the sale and what it means for our island, in particular when it comes to social housing? We have people that live in deplorable situations. Because of my 9-to-5 job, I see it daily. Even the people that want to buy, Madam Chair, have come to me stating that they can't buy because they are lacking information. They cannot go to the bank because they didn't get the necessary documents. And this can be a surprise for my colleagues, because I convey this message clearly to Commissioner Ruben Merkman. I think I spoke to Commissioner Richelin Leardam as well. So again, I have to say I'm surprised that this is a topic of the day. Property doesn't depreciate. Yes, the homes are old. They may have been built for $35,000 back in the day. But to hear, it hurts me when I hear our people live in deplorable conditions. We should be ashamed to say that we have people living in deplorable conditions. Is it really that bad? Then why are we selling them? We can't say it's so bad and then sell them. In 2000, the year 2000, there was a hefty investment in those houses. Back then they had asbestos roof, etc. That too has increased the value of those 75 houses. We can argue who want, who don't want. It's not no minister. Everybody has a period that they sit within government. We too will leave. It's not a minister, it's the FinBES. And the FinBES Article 10.1 and Article 2, Article 10.1 and 2 state clearly we cannot go beyond the market value. We cannot sell, we would be in breach of the law if we did this. We have tried, we have discussed. We are saying we're not selling the land, we can carry it down. We have been back and forth on this. Are we resolving in the motion to ignore legal ramifications if we go against the law and still lower the cost price? We have paid for what? Over 2 appraisals because we didn't agree with one. We have done all that we can to let our people own their homes. The second draft of the motion goes on to see to that over 90% of the tenants living in these houses were there from inception. Is that really true? I don't think so. A lot of our young people at not even 40 live there. Some people so-called inherited the government house. They lived there with their parents and now they stay there, etc. We all know the stories. We all know of people who live in Gona Rock. Because these are things, I'm correcting it not to be knitting and picking at simple words. It's about the fact that oftentimes when we bring these discussions, we tend to tug at the heartstrings of our people and emotional arguments, but we need to stick with the truth too. Okay? A lot of people that live there, you know you wasn't there for 40 years. So you know we ain't talking about you. If we want to resolve to put the sale of the Gold Rock houses on hold for a period of maximum 45 days, I would like to know with what intent, Governor. What will that do? What will that change? Because like I said, I was under the impression that there's already an unnecessary hold or delay in the sale because of the lack of documentation. What make our people cannot go to the banks. I honestly don't know where we are going. There is, when I say where we are going, what do we really want? I think it almost coming down to the fact that we want to give them away for free. I know the Commissioner Merkman said at once, give them away. But like I said, in the same trend that we want to look after generations to come, knowing that there will always be those in our communities that are less fortunate and need assistance, we need to look at the bigger picture. We need to then also see what the changes in this sale price would mean, not just legally, but like I mentioned, the plans for the revenues that come from the sale, which as far as I understood was to build more homes. I am, Madam Chair, like I said, we can make emotional and compassionate arguments, but it is what it is, and I think the community must be tired of hearing us talk about this. They might be say the Gold Rock houses again. A decision was made, it was carried, the prices were agreed upon, and I hope that the process can be picked up and that we finally can hear some people say, I have bought my home, I own my home, I have something that I can leave for my children or grandchildren, and that a housing foundation can finally pick up and move on, take on their responsibilities towards building new homes. I want to stop hearing mothers saying they're in one bedroom with their children, that their roof crumbling on them, that water leaking, that their children have rash because the roof is doing this and the water isn't good. I can't afford to pay my rent. We're talking about women selling their bodies to pay rent. That is an emotional argument. That is what I want to see happen. Let's move past this. Let's sell the houses. Sell them. Let's get more social houses. Because we're focusing on one group of people and forgetting that it has so many others. Madam Chair, I'm done.
Thank you, Council Lady Raquel Spanner-Carty. I give the floor now to you, Councilman Glenville Schmidt.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, this issue of these social homes in Golden Rock, the sale of these homes, we've dealt with them here in the council on several occasions, and lastly where we actually approve the final process so that the sale can proceed. Of course, as the previous speaker said, we've been talking about this for a very long time. I think in that process, I don't know how much the tenants themselves were involved in the discussion. Of course, they listen to these meetings and they may have contact with individual politicians or people in the council, but we're not really part of the whole process of negotiation so they can give their input, etc. Of course, from the side of government and the council, we have to follow our legal processes and what is established in the law. And based on that, we make our decisions. However, now that the tenants of Golden Rock, as the process has proceeded, now they have a better understanding of what is going on and what is happening. What many of them have been waiting for is to finally get a price, what the government intends to sell these houses for. So now what you're getting is the reaction from the tenants. The tenants are now reacting to the knowledge that they now have acquired about what is going on with the sale of these houses. And the reaction of the tenants is really not surprising. It is not surprising because over the years, going back many, many years, we've all discussed the fact that the Golden Rock houses have been there for so long. The fact that over the years, very little maintenance has been carried out in the most of these houses. Yes, some persons get certain maintenance done when they go to the Housing Foundation 1, 2, 3, 5, maybe 10 times to finally get whether a new sink or a new pump or a new leaks fix or whatever. The persons that financially can afford it, afford to make the sacrifice, do a lot of the maintenance themselves. But for the vast majority, they depend on the landlord to come and fix stuff. And we know over the years that has not been happening on a consistent basis. So now that the tenants know where they stand in this whole process, yes, this is their reaction. And we cannot be surprised by the reaction of the tenants. So tenants have approached me too. I have relatives living in Golden Rock. So we're not surprised that tenants are up in arms and saying, hey, this is too much. Even if you sell for 40 or 50,000, it will be too much for somebody. We've said here in this council many times too, that this idea of selling houses has been talked about for many years. and why we want to sell. Housing is a basic need of every human being. It is actually, I think, at United Nations level, a human right to have a home and have a shelter. And as a government, we want people to own their own homes, to give them a piece of their own piece of the economic pie in this capitalist system that we live in. And it is not achievable for everyone. So that's why through these actions of government, we try to make an extra effort to help even those in the lower social scales, to give them the opportunity to own something of value, something that they can also pass on to future generations. And what we're doing here is not new. You heard already in the various islands around us, the other Dutch Caribbean islands, they too, some of them have gone through the process of selling social homes. And we know in the Netherlands, it's a regular occurrence that the housing corporations there sell social homes. And in other countries, in Europe and elsewhere, they do this from time to time again to empower even those in the lower levels of society, to give them that push, that incentive to do something for themselves. And also, once they own that, it's called collateral. They have some form of collateral that they can use as a spring plank, a stepping stone, perhaps to do other things. Perhaps to start a small business that with the ownership of homes, they can go to the bank, just like how they can go to the bank for the money to buy the home. Once they own the home, they can also go to the bank and ask for some money to start a little business, or to send their children to school, or to do something else. So it's giving them that capital, that collateral that they can use in various ways to improve the quality of their own lives and the lives of their children and other descendants. And that is the whole idea. We are trying to empower people in our island. Of course, the discussion about the price, like I said, it will always be a discussion because, somebody will always say the price is too high. We went through a lengthy process to establish a price that was passed here in this Island Council. And this whole process of selling homes and repairing, renovating the Golden Rock homes, this latest process started in 2022, when we signed the letter of intent with the minister. There were efforts before that and intentions before that. But in 2022, with the signing of the letter of intent, we started this latest process of sale, of renovation, and also of new construction. And Statia government and the Island Council is not doing it on its own. It's an agreement that was signed, I think, by 4 or 5 different parties. So the Island Council is only one of the parties to this agreement. And because we put our signature there, we are in principle held to what is put there in that agreement. And so any change to the agreement, any change to our intentions, any change to price or whatever else the case may be, is a collective decision also of all the parties. Because you heard already from the previous speaker, it was agreed, for example, that the The monies generated from the sale of the houses would actually go into renovation of the remaining houses there that need. Yes, so the revenue from the sale should go into renovation of the houses. And so if you change the process, if you change the sale or don't carry out the sale or you sell for less, it has consequences for the other parts of the agreement. And so we have to be cognizant of that. If we're going to change price, if we're going to change whatever, it will have consequences elsewhere. And in principle, all the parties again involved will have to agree to these changes. The agreement also talks about the legal requirements, again, as you heard about, the issue about market value, etc. Well, it's in the law there. And if we don't want to sell according to those terms, then we have to go back to the parties to see what we can agree on that score. And so, Madam Chair, I hope we can finally indeed put this whole process behind us. I hope we can come to the point where we can finally allow the tenants who are interested to buy a house if they want. We have to make this possible one way or the other. But again, as I said, all the parties involved have to be a part of this process. The motion that has been read speaks of a pause in the process of sale. And the purpose of the pause is for us to Hello? Yeah. The purpose of the pause is for us to go back and do some research again, have discussions again with representatives. Hello. Yeah, so that is the intention of the pause. And again, I hope we can find Thank you. So we're going to use this time, that's the intention, we use this, this period of pause to make a last-ditch effort to see what we can do, what we can achieve, if anything at all, in order to respond to the reactions of the tenants in Golden Rock who are interested in buying one of these homes. We don't want and we should not create, unrealistic expectations to the tenants out there that anything will change because, like I say, there are other parties involved to this agreement. But we are doing this in order to make a last-ditch effort to see if we can agree on something in the benefit and the interest of the tenants. We know that housing needs in the island is very high. We're talking now about sale of houses, sale of social houses, homes that are meant for those who cannot afford, in first instance, to build their own homes. Part of the process is also the construction of new homes, construction of more homes, because we know we haven't built social homes in this island for many, many years, with the exception of 1 or 2 units. And that process of building more homes for the people in this community, as you heard, the conditions under which many families have to survive, have to live, with 1, 2, and 3, and 4 generations in one small house. We know that process too of getting these new houses built has also been going on for too long. And we have reached a point where we had to actually take on a loan in order to make this possible. Hopefully, sometime this year, the construction of these new homes will start. So all of this is, none really have more priority over the other. The sale of the houses is important to some, but the importance is that we need to also build the new homes, as was part of the same agreement that we made in 2022. So I hope at the end of this process, and the end of this 45-day interval that we are announcing in this motion, or proposing in this motion, that we'll have a final story and decision to tell the public, tell the tenants of Statia and the community at large, that this is the final result and this is what we have to live with and move forward with this. Thank you, Madam Chair. We leave it there for now.
Thank you, Councilman Glenville Schmidt, and thank you, members of the Island Council. We have reached the conclusion of round 1. I will look to the commissioners if there is a need for response on the deliberations by the various members of the Island Council, and then together we will determine how we will go forward with regards to round 2. Commissioner Alida, I give you the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will speak on behalf of my colleague, just in case you have internet issues. So I would just like to give some context to all what has been said. Transparency, I think, is needed when we're having these discussions. And I would like to just bring context to the public as well in terms of transparency of the whole procedure. First, I would like to thank the director of the Housing Foundation. He came as soon as possible once he knew that it was on the agenda, to provide any elucidation needed for the council as much as possible. So based on the information I received from the director, 1 minute, let me get the right amount. 65 to 66 homes will be sold, because there were homes already before the sale that was renovated. So the ones that were not renovated will be sold. That was 65 to 66. So based on that now, 52 persons were already interviewed. Based on the 52 persons that were interviewed, 7 persons said they're not interested straight out of buying the homes. So the rest are interested and they have to come back by June the 30th to give an answer. Okay. During the discourse, they did have a one-on-one with each independent client, seeing that a general assembly would lead to a bunch of different questions and maybe your situation is different to the next person. So they opted to have it done on a one-on-one basis. Based on what was said in the Island Council, that the notary costs as well as the electrical costs will be covered, it was also reiterated to each client that this is also part of it. So just to sketch a scenario, if your home costs $55,000, you will pay $55,000 to buy the home, but what will government receive is not $55,000 because we will take out of the $55,000, we're going to take $6,000 to pay for the current, maybe our next $5,000 based on the cost of the home for the notary. So government really receiving 40-something thousand in their coffers. That money have to go towards the renovation of new homes. So the lower the amount is, the more money government have to put now to renovate those homes. Because what will happen now, we won't be able to renovate the rest homes because we don't have the money to renovate all of the homes. So the intention was, first intention was to put the money towards the rebuilding of new homes. So apparently in the LOE, it stated that it will not go to a rebuilding of new homes, but the renovation of the rest of the homes that are not covered under the money that was received. So in order for us to continue now the renovation, because they renovated the homes that was already in the process. So the rest homes now have to wait until the LOE, which clearly states they have to sell the 25 homes. So we have to have a price. Person have to give the interest, know that these are going to be bought, and the 25 that we know for sure is going to be bought will not be renovated, and then the rest homes, out of the 60-something homes, then will be renovated. The longer we take to finalize that, the longer it will take to renovate those other persons who basically know maybe they don't want to buy the home, they can get their home renovated at, well, as soon as possible. They can start their renovation. So based on the pausing, because they have already renovated all of the can, so basically they write with their hands, basically waiting to see when is the next step so they can continue to renovate the rest. The motion, while I understand the different members in the Island Council, we have a limited amount of time, so I'm really happy we have 45 days maximum to see whatever else can be done in terms of negotiating the price to get it lower. But I just want the council to remain in mind, keep in mind that we already have to find $250,000 to renovate the 25 homes, because we're not going to receive the exact amount of money just based on our average of 50 homes, $50,000 a home, $55,000 a home. We don't have the needed $50,000 to $55,000 for renovation per home. So government already is subsidizing this by not receiving the full sum and putting it back into the homeowner, because they're getting notary fees back into the homeowner and the electrical. And now we're going to have to look in the budget of government to look for at least right now minimum $250, and the lower that price goes, the higher that price goes for us. So that means that there might be a possibility, if we cannot find that money, that person may go with the home unrenovated. So it kind of gives, you know, kind of a, and I'm not just giving transparency for everybody to know, because it's a discussion again we're having, and I think the community need to have the full transparent picture of, you know, what can happen to those if you're not able to receive monies to finalize the renovation, and persons will go without renovating. Our government will then have to decide, well, we're not going to carry out this policy because the renovation of homes, which it is most important. So having a limited budget, I'm not a commissioner of finance, but commissioner of finance, where we are already juggling and pinching the pennies, trying to find different avenues where we can also increase government revenues outside of taxation of people in terms of foreign investment, exploring geothermal and other areas within our marine, trying to see how we can, the airport, bring in revenues outside of taxing our people. We have to then come creative in terms of what this will mean for us as an island. The motion is just basically to instruct us to inform the Executive Council, the House Foundation, to halt the this ongoing discussion, so we will definitely execute the motion, and in whatever area that we can help to see this come a reality. Like the council said, a lot of efforts have been made. A few taxations have been made. The reason why we ask, and I thank the council for giving us a maximum of 45 days, is because we don't want to have the deeds, the taxations being expired. So that would mean we have to redo the taxations. Council, yeah, and that costs about maybe $50,000. So we'll have to redo the whole process over again. So Council Lady Spina Carty did indeed contacted me, and I contacted Commissioner Merkman to let him know about some of the bottlenecks I would say that persons encountered. I understood first was taxation, but I understood from the director also the deed was an issue. And I understood that we don't have all the deeds from all the phases. So we government have to spend $36,000 now to get those deeds from the cadastre so persons can actually finalize. If it fall within the phase that the deed is not there, then we have to get the deed. So that's additional $36,000 that we have to now account for, so we can facilitate the sale of those persons who are interested in buying the home, because that is what is required from the bank. I just learned about the deed just a while ago from the director. So in the process of executing now, maybe with what we have on pause, we can then try to finalize that during the pause to make sure we have the deeds in hand. And then once there's a go again, then we can finalize it. But I really do hope that we can sell these homes, because we did say that we want to sell the homes. I was very happy that we reached that point. A lot was done. We took out the leased land so they could be more representative. The Island Council would like to come with a different approach again to see if they can get it even more lower. We welcome that, but we know that we are behind time constraints as well. So I just would like to leave that on the floor, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Leerdam. I look to the members of the Island Council. If there's a need to go into a second round, I see members, yes? Round two? Okay, I see on this side of the table, and then I will continue with round two. Councilman Van Putten, again, you are the first speaker because this motion is presented by your person.
Madam Speaker, when I come on the Island Council floor, I don't come with emotions. I don't come with any form of trying to appease anybody. I'm doing my work. I was elected with preferential votes to be in this body. And when I come here, I have all the time in the world to stay here and to defend the interests of the people. And any time that I, as a council member, whether it was here 10, 15, or 20 times before, and I feel that it is not what we committed to the people, I am going to bring it back. Who vex, vex, and who please, please. But I don't need to come here and play on people's emotion. I am not here lying to nobody, because I know exactly what was discussed internally in the PLP caucus. There was a meeting of the Island Council, and I respect everybody's opinion and everybody's rights, especially in this capacity, and I hope they would do the same with me. Yes, I talk about deplorable condition, but I also hear that there were other people stating that there are people living in worse conditions on the island. I didn't see a meeting of the Island Council call. I didn't see a motion strengthened in the hands of governments and asking government to do something in order to be able to help those people. Commissioner Merkman stood right here, and that, but not in this building, like I said, but downtown. And he said, I didn't say. He said that because of the state, the deplorable state of the houses, the conditions in which they were, he didn't even want to propose a price number, even mind to sell them. But I guess as Ruben Bergman said, because it seemed like I am a stranger in here, I'm an outsider. So everybody have an opinion, everybody would say what they want, when they want, how they want. But the minute I give my opinion, and I state my position, it will become an issue. But as long as I am here, who like it, and who don't like it, as I said, only used to sit with lampets. Because I won't speak. The people put me here. I'm going to speak. And if we care so much about those people out there who are suffering, come with emotion. Bring it on the table. Strengthen the hands of government. And tell your minister that they allow so much. That the people living in bad conditions in the country. But there ain't only the situation in housing. We hear about women prostitutes, and I said it before in the Island Council, young women, because of the lack of jobs, because of the lack of the same housing, because of the lack of education, that support, the high cost of living in the country. Those are the things, Madam Speaker, that we need to bring here on the floor of the Island Council if we are compassionate and if we love the people. There are some of those, or some of us who have. So you have the have and the have-nots. I fall in the bracket. I identify one politician, a former council member, said that the PLP won the election because the uneducated and the poor people voted for them. Well, I part of the uneducated and the poor people. And as long as I'm here, Madam Speaker, I'm going to fight for them. We're talking about market value. Well, why nobody ever consider that in the market value, since we're talking about market value, the amount of years that some of those people live in it, and a lot of them maybe you would say they didn't pay the maximum that they should have paid, but every dollar counts. And why we didn't consider that they have the years that people live. A year investment was made some years ago. But go Golden Rock when it's raining. Go Golden Rock when it's raining. And see what the tenants in Golden Rock have to do in these houses to prevent the water. The kind of shutters in there, how hot it is in the day, and a lot of the other things, because you go, you see some of the face boards on the houses, you see some of the shutters and other parts of the houses. Some people went and they because of their own decency, some people sacrifice. They build cabinets. They make other repairs in the houses. So even though I'm hearing that a big investment was made a couple of years ago, that investment, and again, a house will devalue, just as a car will devalue if you don't upgrade it, if you don't maintain it. So I don't accept the argument that houses own or properties don't devalue. They do devalue if you don't maintain them. Madam Speaker, if we feel the pain of the people in this country, a lot of us will do different. We keep talking about the FinBest and the FallBest. FinBest and FallBest also outline the obligations that the national government have towards these islands. Our people continue to die. Our people continue to die. They have a responsibility where education, healthcare, and many other things are concerned. And when we have to get anything, most of the time with the bare minimum, unless it's something that they are interested in. And even when they give you the money, they want to tell you how to spend it. But some of us forget. But again, as the Commissioner Merkman himself said on the floor of the Island Council, that when he visited with the then Deputy Government Commissioner, he was amazed to see the situation. And not a soul criticized him because it's a nice L. Merkman said it. But Clyde Van Button, when they see me, it's like you see a Red Bull. You know, when a cow see a Red Bull animal, they see the red cloth. They go crazy, but the people put me here. And I choose to leave at this point in time, at the end of the term or maybe before. Because I'm confident if I change my mind and I go back, the people will put me here. Because I'm always standing up for them. Always. So if you want to talk about improving and doing things for people, come with proposals on the table. Present them. And if they are common sense and they make sense, I will support them. I don't have to go along because the law state, I'm not violating the law. But I could challenge the law. I could go and I could negotiate with the minister or the state secretary and say, listen, based on the law, you asked me to do so. You expect me to do so, but this is not good for my people. But what I have come to realize with certain politicians, certain island council members and certain commissioners, if all and tell them jump, they ask them why they jump. But when it comes around the local interests of the people, then they turn their backs. They want to be on the river and they want to be on the bank at the same time. I don't flip-flop. I don't flip-flop, Madam Speaker. Like me, I don't like them. Very direct. I am consistent. And I say it's a travesty. It's a shame. Shame. A burning shame that the Labour Party-led government is presiding over injustice to the people. Because I didn't hear anybody, I was there. I fought. I beat you up a lot when you was the government commissioner on the same issue of the housing. You got a lot of pondoos from me in here, and I don't think you take it personal, because we continue. There are some people stop talking to me because I criticize you. But we continue to talk. And maybe what they know, you're my God sister, and I is your God brother. But when I got to criticize you, I criticize you. When you got to criticize me, you criticize me. Because this is part of the job. It's not personal. I am standing for the people, the same fervor, whether we was in the council or we aspire to reach the Island Council, when Basal was to get these houses. If people like me didn't stand up, they would have been gone. And I heard the commissioner and leader of the government saying that the director is lying through his teeth, because I could bring 5 to 10 people who asked them in the discussion, and he said government never told him anything about paying the transfer fee for the notary and this whole issue of the light. So I am shocked that you sit here today and telling me that he tell you that, because I argued with people. I said no, from the total amount, the notary fee, some taxes were going to be paid to government along with the electrical installation. That would be the case, and they said they brought it to him, and he said he didn't get that information. So I am shocked, Madam Speaker. I am shocked, Madam Speaker, that today that the acting commission of housing is bringing this information based on whatever information that was given by the director of the Housing Foundation. And that's why I'm saying, the people of this country had the opportunity to listen to us, not only today, but before. Like I said before, I have reached a limit. I ain't running for nothing. But again, I'm saying I would leave with my principle intact. And I said to the leader, I support your government. But if your government is doing things that is not in the interest of the people, as far as I'm concerned, I ain't going to support it. I am not Stanley Van Patten and Ziki, because they were 2 loyal Democrats. Whatever the Democrats did for them was good. Not me. Not me. I'm not doing that, even when I was the leader of the party. If it is wrong, I am going to call sin by its name. And Madam Speaker, there's a majority, a super majority in the council, because very often I find myself almost like the opposition to my own government. And the government is always assured, because the new young leader is strategic. So she's always guaranteed of the majority in this Island Council, even if her predecessor is opposed to it. But I am not Stanley Nziki. I'm not going to support blindly because of loyalty and because of friendship, because we have members in the council, and I spoke earlier in the room there. I make a number of recommendations to my executive council of things I would like to see, persons I feel that could fill certain positions. Other members of the council was opposed. and I put my tail between my legs and I leave it, I could have taken the high road, but I leave it because of general interest. There was an issue recently that the leader knew I was adamantly against, and not just being against it, but based on history. And it went ahead, and I'm still here. I'm still here. But this one, Madam Speaker, I will not waver. It may not be the amount, because in my motion, I talk about 40 to 45. The rest of the faction wanted that deleted so that they could go back and caucus and see if we could come up to a proposal. And I was open. But I am not going to support those humongous figures, what people were told. I'm not going to do it. And I'm hearing about we need money. Yes, I agree to the protocol. I know, I heard the former commissioner spoke about who all was party to the protocol. I know who was party to the protocol. But the issue is, even though if I was party to the protocol and I don't agree with a particular figure based on intense discussion both internally as well as here on the floor of the Island Council. So again, I'm saying there's a super majority in this council that generally go along for whatever reason. But if I don't agree, I don't agree. And I don't agree with the figure on the table. Maybe I may not get the 40, between the 40 and the 45,000, because we're going back and we're going to discuss. But if they choose to do the big figures based on the list that exists at this point in time, I will take the whole high road and I will communicate to the voters. Not that I'm running for anything, I have to give any accountability, fearing that next election I may not get elected, because I'm finished with that. But again, I'm saying, we promised the people that we would preserve, protect, and defend their interests. And what we're doing here, we were giving it to Bazalo. This is the piece that I wanted to mention. Or we won't get the money from the sale and we're using it to help to renovate. Yes, I agree. But we shouldn't have to give that. The Dutch got all kind of money, giving away wars, killing people, sending to a number of Caribbean and Latin countries. Why they can't give you money? Even the ground. They promised a certain amount. They would have given Basal money. Basal would have to take a loan to do certain things. And now we got to borrow money. And if I stand corrected, because it sounds like the commissioner saying that they ain't even have the guarantee yet that they would get the money, because it was to be 50 houses now, because they got the borrow loan. I think they come down to 36. And I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow it come down to 15, because the Dutch don't keep their word. They keep moving the goalposts. And because Holland said it is market value, and we have become so legalistic, Madam Speaker, that whatever the Dutch don't care about us. They care about their people. And they put all kind of pressure on us to do things that will keep the knee in the neck of our people, strangle them. But when it come around their people in the different municipalities in Holland, even if it is a law and their municipal government challenge them to do it, they get away. You know why? When election they come, they have hundreds of thousands of people that vote, that could influence the outcome of elections in Holland. But we don't have that here. But I will not be counted in taking advantage of the people. I will not do it. And Madam Speaker, I am prepared to take the high road with all the consequences, because I ain't looking for nothing, I ain't gonna benefit nothing, but I'm here for the people. The poor people in this country, the people that they say is uneducated, dumb, and poor. I am a part of that. Because even though I moved to Camp David, I ain't forget where I come from. I came from the north. And I pass through the north every single day. Because lest you forget, Madam Speaker, it's a problem. But because some people can't identify and don't understand what it is to be poor, what it is to struggle on a day-to-day basis, to put food on the table, to pay bills at the end of the month, at the quinceañera. They don't understand. The empathy, the compassion isn't there, but it's there by me, because I came from there. And I feel that even though, together with my dear wife, we may have an extra dollar that we could help people, I still feel that compassion because I was there. So I haven't forgot from whence I came. May it please you, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman Clyde Van Putten. Councilman Derek Simmons, second round, you may speak.
Thank you. I yield my time.
Thank you, Councilman Derek Simmons. Council Lady Raquel Spanacarty, you may speak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Leerdam, thank you for your elucidation and the further explanation given. Indeed, it is good to know what else the money was intended for. And basically, thanks for the correction that it was not just solely to rebuild. Madam Chair, we were all placed here through a democratic process. I don't ever feel the need to list what I do for my people. I don't need the Island Council floor to speak about myself, how long I'm here, and what I do for my people on a daily basis. Maybe if I stay another 40 years, I too will become an eye specialist. My contribution in here is supposed to benefit all my people. Comparing and belittling people because of possessions and ability is a sign of ignorance. You know what the people say in stage show, what it teach me? Give a clown a stage and he will perform. These cameras in here, they gotta go. And maybe we will finally get down to the people's business and interests. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Council Lady Raquel Spanacarty. Final speaker in the second round, Councilman Glenville Schmidt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have nothing to add at this point. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the members of the Island Council. I will proceed that we go over to voting on the motion before us. And I will start with you, Councilman Clyde Van Putten. Your vote, sir. Councilman Derek Simmons.
For Madam Chair.
Council Lady Raquel Spanacarty.
Against.
Thank you, Council Lady. Councilman Glenville.
I vote for.
This motion on social housing, Golden Rock social housing, is herewith carried by a majority 3, 4, and 2 against. I want to say as chair that wisdom has prevailed in terms of removing the figures from the intended motion, as that would have positioned the Island Council to taking a responsibility that rests with I've been asked to repeat my statement as it obviously could have been misunderstood. The motion is carried 3-4, 1 against. And I just wanted to, as chair, elaborate that it was important that the initial motion had the necessary changes adjusted. Otherwise, the council would have taken on a responsibility to include pricing, which is not an authority of the Island Council, considering the Article 10 of the FinBES. So thank you, members of the Island Council, for your wisdom. With your permission, I want to ask if there's a need for us to proceed immediately into Agenda 2 or take a half an hour break where we can enjoy our lunch, or we want to proceed? Thank you, members of the Island Council. We will then proceed. We will have the formality of the motion signed by the 3 members who have given the support to the motion social housing, St. Eustatius. Agenda 6 regards the adoption of the MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, SSS. There is a agenda point 6, and it addresses the ratification Memorandum of Understanding, SSS, Sabre St. Eustatius St. Martin Cooperative. The process will go as follows. As this agenda point was added again by Councilman Clyde Van Putten, I will give him the floor at the moment so that he will introduce the topic before us. I would like to propose, as customary, the 20 minutes first round, 10 minutes second round. Because the topic is raised by Councilman Van Putten, we will deviate from the regular order of speaking, which will then give Councilman Van Putten the right to speak as first speaker. I would now ask your permission to go ahead, Councilman Van Putten, and give us the introduction as brief as possible on the topic, and then we will go immediately into the speaking round. The floor is yours, Councilman Clyde Van Putten.
Madam Speaker, third and fourth rounds in this Island Council. But it is said that ignorance is bliss. And I don't want to use my age and my experience to exploit the inexperience and the ignorance of others. Because like I said before, 40 years I have been in public service. This memorandum that we have with the other 2 islands of Sabre and St. Martin, it's a part of that. And if I am a member of the Island Council, and I am here and just going along to get along, then I don't need to be here. I am not a specialist and all the other things that were said. But I want to say today that the political fight will change from this day. I am not a part of a girls' club. I am a man. And from today, it will not be business as usual. And that's going to be very clear. Madam Speaker, with
To the
regards
topic,
to,
yes.
well, I'm in the Island Council. And
But you stick to the topic as well.
They are not third and fourth and thing, and I have a right to be able to defend myself. I am here representing the people, and I didn't come on curtail. The people elected me, and that's why I'm here.
Just
But
for
with
all
regards
clarity, Mr.
to-
Van Putten, the response that you're giving is not related to the topic. You
it
did have
it
the
related to the
opportunity
topic,
during
because
the
if I
topic
had asked you-
to ask for a point of
If I did ask you to
clarification, a
clarify,
point
then
of...
I would have heard different stuff.
Not
I
true,
get
sir,
up here,
on the topic.
and I make my statement and I stand behind it. But again, I'm saying, I'm warning you ahead of time. It will not be business as usual. But Madam Speaker, getting to this memorandum of understanding, I remember 24 years and 5 months ago, the eye specialist was there at Great Bay in St. Martin, where the 3 islands back then pledged to find ways and means to cooperate with each other on a number of areas. We talk about economic development, we talk about healthcare, we talk about disaster preparedness, environmental sustainability, cultural exchange, promote regional cooperation and dialogue between the islands, and to deal with matters of shared importance. 24 years later and 5 months, with islands who would have gone their separate ways, yet because of global realities, the challenges that those countries and islands is faced with from a global perspective, but even from a kingdom perspective, the islands saw the need to be able to come and work with each other. And Madam Speaker, even though I found out later, there were those who had a problem with me being the delegation leader, because I found out that later. As the majority leader in this Island Council, I led the delegation and led a discussion in Saba. And as long as I am the majority leader, that is what's going to happen. And so we came back with a good document. There was 2 days of mingling with each other, discussing with each other, and all the players, both coalition and opposition, majority and minority, from all the 3 countries or islands involved, came together, and we were able to reach an understanding in areas which we should be able to cooperate, and it resulted in a memorandum of understanding. Speaker, Clyde Van Putten, the I-Man, signed on behalf of Statia. And so I felt it was a responsibility in this council today, and I'm glad that you were able to detect the oversight, because I had requested the General Secretary to add it to the agenda, and I'm happy that you corrected oversight and we are able to ratify it. I think that the memorandum speaks for itself, and I'm not going to spend a long time because there's nothing to debate. It's pretty clear. All the members of the Island Council from Statia was there, all from Saba was there, and the different factions in St. Martin, whether by their faction leader or their deputy faction leader, along with the Speaker of the House in St. Martin, who led a delegation. And so we had ample time to be able to discuss it and eventually reach an agreement. I guess like everything else, water was thrown in the wine. And as I said, I hope it wouldn't take another 24 years and 5 months before this document will be put into action and put into execution. Because like I said before, when we look at the developments worldwide, it is incumbent, especially upon small island states, to work together, to pool our resources, because no man, no woman is an island unto themselves. And I believe that we all have things in common. As I mentioned during the discussions, our island is intertwined in St. Martin because of history, culture, family, and other natural relationships. Whatever we eat, practically, what we wear, what we build with, it comes from St. Martin. This island contributes significantly to the national domestic product of St. Martin. and they to acknowledge that. So I'm happy that at this critical stage in our constitutional relationship, but even within the normal day-to-day existence of our people, that the political leaders and elected officials had that vision and that foresight, despite maybe our differences from time to time, and we could come together and we could have reached such a historic agreement. So, Madam Speaker, as the delegation leader of Station, I submit this document to this House and hope that it will, at least we have 3 members of the council. 3 members are here. And again, we don't always agree with each other, but we take our responsibility as elected representatives. And I have no doubt that the majority that is here doing the people's business, I have every confidence that this document will receive the approval of the 3 members that remain in this House here today. May it please you, Madam Speaker, and I yield back the time to the chair.
Thank you, Councilman Clyde Van Putten. I now give you the floor, Councilman Derek Simmons.
Thank you. I won't just yield my time. I think I will say something on this issue because I believe as islands we need to find that need that we need each other. So sometimes we just go our separate ways and find ourselves back as a family. And it was amazing to see that a process that had started many years ago came full circle, and you see the same issues are still relevant as it was that time, is still very, very relevant today. And looking at what's happening globally, I find it was a privilege to be part of such a delegation, and I too will support this memorandum when it comes up to vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilman Derek Simmons. Councilman Glenville Schmidt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I too say a few words on this. I'm very happy again today that we are able to put this memorandum of understanding on the floor of our Island Council to solidify this cooperation agreement between the 3 Windward Islands, the Dutch Windward Islands, St. Martin, Saba, and Station. You've heard this idea of a formal cooperation between the islands started many, many years ago. And I too was privy to the documents at the time when it was presented to form a Windward Islands Economic Union through various organizations I was involved in. But we know the political developments in the islands over the years changed the focus of our islands and the leaders of the various islands in trying to push this forward. So again, I'm happy that we still find our way back to this cooperation agreement, because as we all know, the interests of the islands are very much intertwined, especially the 2 small islands, Saba and Statia. We depend on St. Martin for a lot. Our people are there every day. St. Martin government is the owner of our main means of transportation to get there, the Winair airline, although many cross the seas on the ferry service. we are still very much dependent on St. Martin's National Airline, although we have a little share in it as well. And we make, as a community, a major contribution to St. Martin's economy, and again, this is on a daily basis. You know, it's not once in a while, it's every day our folks are over there. Times of festivities like now, Carnival is ongoing. We're going to find even more of our people there spending money and enjoying themselves in St. Martin. And it's not only the economic issues, including the issue of double taxation, where goods in St. Martin are taxed, and when our businesses here buy stuff from wholesalers and even retailers in St. Martin and bring them here to our island, the St. Martin taxes are included, and then our own taxes here. We know our dependence on health services in St. Martin, where we send our patients on a daily basis again to make use of the services of the St. Martin Medical Center and of various other medical institutions there and specialists. And so there are many areas. Education is another area. Many areas where our people are very dependent on the services in St. Martin. And so I think it is very commendable that the government of St. Martin, the Parliament of St. Martin in this case, despite all the challenges that we know that they are facing over there themselves, that they have committed themselves to work on this cooperation agreement with the two smaller islands. And I must also commend our colleagues in Saba, Island Council, and Executive Council there for hosting us there 2 weeks ago and making that meeting a success. And to my colleagues here in the Council and our commissioners who were also part of the process, also to commend them for their input. We've laid out all the issues and the challenges, at least a lot of them, there in the meeting, very extensive meetings that we had. And we've learned, you know, that St. Martin, of course, they have a new breed of politicians there now, are not always aware of how much dependence there is from the smaller islands on St. Martin, and not aware of what they can do to help solve some of the issues. And also the national government has a role to play in it as well. So I just hope that with the formalization of this memorandum of understanding, that this process will get a renewed impetus to move forward and to achieve better cooperation and understanding between the three islands, and that it will lead to smoother interactions of our people when they go to St. Martin, and that we achieve all the benefits that we hope from it. So again, a commendation to all those who made it possible, and I look forward to having a lasting positive cooperation with the three islands, St. Martin, Saba, and Statia, to the benefit of all three islands as well. Thank you.
Thank you to Councilman Glenville Schmidt. Considering this document was already signed by all the participating islands on Saba, can I have your permission, Island Council, that we go over to the ratification by acclamation, herewith ending the discussion on the topic. Councilman Van Putten, point of order, a point of clarification.
I agree with that, but please inform the Parliament of St. Martin and the Island Council of Sable
Of the decision.
of the decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councilman Van Putten. I can assure you the Registrar's Office will do as advised, requested by the Island Council. I herewith, with the permission of the Island Council, ratify this Memorandum of Understanding SSS Cooperative. And advised by the Registrar, this document will also be published for, inzage. The public will get the opportunity to read all the details of the agreements already exposed here by the members of the Island Council in their deliberations. We move now to agenda point 7, which regards announcements on the part of the Executive Council. Commissioner Ledam, are there any announcements from the Executive Council?
Madam Chair, my colleague is out on, I think he will make his own announcement. Commissioner Merkman. I don't have an announcement, but I have a statement if he will indulge me, or if the council
You
will
may
indulge.
continue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just would like to state that I observe the discussion within the council, the latter part of it, and I would like to say that really and truly, and I don't want to be emotional, but Stacia has a chance right now, and this is nothing about being strategic or anything. It's about we're going through a lot of issues. We have a lot of constitutional issues, and in order for us to achieve this, we need to bind together as one, not only Island Council, Executive Council, also for the civil servants. And as you can see, it now been extended to the islands, SSS, BESS. But the reality is, for Stacia to succeed, we need to take on a different approach. And that is the approach we started, and we do hope that no matter what transpired this afternoon, we can still maintain the approach where we see what it is for Stacia and try to achieve it as much as possible with all on board. Just want to make that statement. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Leerdam. Commissioner Ruben Merkman. Commissioner Merkman, unmute your button.
I think I didn't get him. I will just make the, no man, he's up. He following the meeting. Oh, okay, I see you unmute.
It's unmuted.
Yeah.
You may now continue, Commissioner Ruben Merkman. Commissioner Merkman, we cannot hear you, sir. We will attempt another less sophisticated way to see if we can get you in via our WhatsApp.
I'm in Miami with on some personal business, and then I will be going to Curacao to meet with the housing managers from the former Netherlands Antilles. There's all the islands from the former Netherlands Antilles. We'll be meeting on social housing on Curacao, and I would also be visiting the skills development program that the young men that left Stacia to go to Curacao. I will be visiting them, and then I will be returning. So I will be spending 2 days in Curacao, 1 day for social housing, and then 1 day for the young men from Stacia that are in Curacao, and then I will be returning to Stacia.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Governor.
Thank you very much to you, Commissioner Merkman. I would also like to share with the meeting that during the second week of the coming month, May month. As Island Governor, I will head a delegation to Florida as part of our crisis preparations. There is being held there what is called the Governor's Conference, and all the ESFs along with the crisis coordinator will be there for much needed interaction and training. And also, given the fact that there has been quite a number of years of Statia's active participation, this is being picked up once more. On that note, I conclude this agenda point, and we move swiftly to our final agenda point, which is the closure of this meeting. I invite us all to please stand as we give respect to the Golden Rock song, at the same time bringing this meeting formally to a close. Let us all please stand. This meeting is herewith officially closed.